We might have lost a couple, but I think people that are coming back are back. So let's get started. So we have a guest speaker today. Her name is Carla. I'm going to let Carla explain to you what she does, and I appreciate if you can show her our normal, riders as well.
Awesome. So my name is Carla Langhorst. I am an entrepreneur. I've actually had my own business for quite a few years. I started, my background is all in business, so I know that you guys are taking some business courses right now, and really I think it's so important to do it because no matter what industry that you decide to do or what you decide to do when you get older, if you don't have some piece of business to you, it's going to be really, really difficult in the long run. So even if you want to be a nonprofit, even if you just want to work, let's say, like my kid, she actually wants to help animals. She wants to be part of the World Wildlife Fund, but she still needs business. Why do you think that? Yeah.
But you have to raise money in order to do what you want to do.
Right. If they're not raising money, even WWF is basically going to go out of business. They can't be around. So everything, unfortunately, we don't like it. It does revolve around money. So business is really, really important. So I'm glad you guys are taking this. And I know that you guys have been learning a little bit about financing as well. So really, really cool. What I've done in my past is I actually used to work for Coca-Cola. I used to work for Canadian Pacific Railway, if you guys have ever heard of any of these companies. I worked for McCain Foods. So I really have a corporate background, had a lot of fun doing that, and really in marketing as well as in supply chain management, if you guys know what that is, operations basically, as well as HR and sales and marketing. So the whole gambit, I've done a little bit of everything. My challenge in life and my goal in life is actually to make Canada more creative. I don't know if you guys know this, but Canada is the most franchised country in the world. What's a franchise? Give me an example. McDonald's, right. So we have more McDonald's, not more McDonald's, but more franchises than any other country in the world. So basically, we don't create things. We're not innovative. Isn't that sad? Anyone ever seen the Cupcake Girls? Seen that TV show? The Cupcake Girls, I actually know, because I lived in Vancouver. And they were telling me their story of starting up. And they said, we started our business, and the first 2 years, you know what happened? Our entire business survived and thrived on American tourists. So basically the Americans would come in and they'd be like, oh, I'm in Vancouver, this is awesome. This is such a cool idea, I love cupcakes. And they basically bought all the cupcakes. 2 years later, 2 years after, the first neighborhood Canadians started strolling in. And they said to the cupcake ladies, you've been here for 2 years, so we thought we'd finally check you out. Isn't that sad? So really, we're not a very creative country. And my whole challenge is, if I work for Coke, I work for McCain Foods, and I work for Canadian Pacific Railway, and their philosophy is, as a big company, unless 70% or more of the population is doing something, I ain't doing it. So also really risk adverse, not adaptive, not really going to have a great strong foundation for Canadian economy. Right? At the same time, with economic downturn, why are we doing okay? Because we have been risk averse. But at the same time, this is something that in the future, things are changing so fast, so quickly. Everything is based on technology. If we're not creative, we're screwed. So that's why I decided to start my own company, is because I couldn't work for Coke that was only going to do things after 70% of the population did it too. Because I think that's sad, and I personally think that's pretty boring. Right? For you guys, what kind of companies are you looking at working for when you graduate? Any ideas already? No? Okay, awesome. Well, there's lots of cool ideas out there. Obviously Google is more and more into Canada and other really creative companies like that. But my big challenge was, how do I do that? So I decided to start my own company. This is actually not my first company. This is my second company. Small Business Solver is basically an e-coaching for startup companies and ongoing growing companies. And my whole philosophy, it's a social enterprise. It's designed basically to do good in Canada and the rest of the world. And what it does is basically people who want to start up their business or continue to grow their business, they use everything on my site to train themselves. So I'm helping creative, often technology related startups or growing companies. And what's really cool about it is if you're interested in starting your own company, anyone interested in doing that? Okay, few hands, awesome. If you're interested in doing and starting your own company, it's actually not your first company that usually is successful. Anybody know what number it is? Number 5, did I hear that? Yeah, it's number 5, isn't that crazy? So even this company is not supposed to be successful, so, because this is only my second one. But typically it's number 5, right? And the reason it's number 5 is that mostly entrepreneurs, they have a huge learning curve. So the ones who put up their hands and said, I want to start a company, do you know what your first step is going to be? Right? It's kind of tough to know because you may not have done it before. But once you're on your 5th company, it's a lot easier and you increase your own chance of success. You have more contacts, you understand how to do things, and you're not spending half your time, if not longer, trying to sort through things and figure things out. Right? So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is social media. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert in social media, but I have many experts who support me on Small Business Solver to figure it out. So I'm actually just going to be passing on the information that they've given to me. Okay, so I'm kind of like a human sieve, just passing it on. But before I get into that, what was my first company? My first company, I actually started a consulting firm. I started it at the age of 28. And what I decided to do is that, again, I wanted to help startups. That's actually how I came up with this idea. Is that I was going up to startups and I was helping them from ground zero to basically getting their first $100,000. That was my whole idea. And so how did I do that? I actually ended up doing sales strategies for startups, and I hired telemarketers. So I basically started, can you imagine this, a Canadian telemarketing company. Isn't that weird? Don't you think all those things are in India? Well, we actually started a Canadian telemarketing company. The reason being is all these small business owners, what they were doing is, I need to hire a salesperson. It's the first person that you hire as a startup, is a salesperson to get more business. But I don't know if you've ever seen an amazing salesperson. Have you ever seen an amazing sales guy or girl who basically you're like, I'll buy anything, you're so good, right? Well, a good salesperson is going to fool or trick an entrepreneur. So the first salesperson they get, they basically throw all their money away on them because the salesperson pitched them and then didn't bother to do the job. Right? Because one of the hardest things to do is to find a really persistent salesperson, right? That's the tough part. So what ended up happening is I ended up getting all these clients, I landed a huge franchise, and then what happened is we ended up landing Bell and Microsoft. And they were actually going after small business clients. So what do you do in a small business when you land a big client? Sell. Sell as quickly as possible. Have you ever heard that? It's called your exit strategy. So whenever you're starting your own company, and what's kind of neat is in my own e-learning piece here, what we have is we basically have courses from thinking to closing a business. And basically what I think is super important is figuring out when to stop. So having your exit strategy is super duper important. So as soon as I saw that we had a huge client that was basically going to take us from 6 digits and upwards, all of a sudden that's when you sell. So that was my plan. What do you think, Brad? That's what you want to do, right?
That's the idea.
So that's who I am. Any questions about my background, and then we'll kind of talk about social media for small business, but also for you guys as well. Lots of stuff. Yeah, what's up?
Where did you start?
Okay, undergrad was Wilfrid Laurier, sorry, and studied business, so strategy and marketing. That's how I got into Coke and McCain's. It was basically the career center. I find that the best thing to do in terms of getting into a corporate job is, right now, interview with everyone. What I find is really funny is that when you're a graduate student and you're done, and now you're asking for a job, nobody wants to meet with you. But if you actually say, hey, I'm a student now, it's low risk for an employer to spend time with you and they want to tell you about how much they love their company and their job. And so in that case, they're going to spend all day with you. Now you have the foot in the door. But if you wait until you've graduated, all of a sudden people are like, oh, now they just want a job. I'm not going to waste my time with that. So it's kind of a little paradigm shift for you on that. Anything else? Awesome. You're like, yes. That's how you get in the doors for everything, is say, hey, can we have a coffee? And that's how you get a job. Okay, so basically social media is what we're going to be talking about today. And like I said, I've actually taken information from all of my subject matter experts. So what I do is I basically get other people to do all the content development for us. We record it, just like I'm being recorded right now, and then we make it available for other people forever. And the whole idea is that it doesn't waste any of the subject matter experts' time, and you're able to duplicate it and keep going. So, online marketing, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I know you guys were talking about the IPO on Twitter, right? And so obviously it's a much more successful IPO than Facebook actually had. And so I know you were talking about the price per user. And I don't know if you guys know anything about Groupon, but they also did an IPO a couple of years back. Does anybody know what the price per user was for Groupon? I think Facebook and Twitter, people have accounts and they continuously use it, right? So Groupon, how does it work? Basically, people store the email addresses and then they get sent all the deals. So how much do you think an email is worth versus having an account? Yeah, it was less, dramatically less. It's about 10%. So it's about $10 instead of your 100 that you're looking at. But what's the difference between their two business models if we're looking at them?
One's more like interactive, like something you can go on every day and like always contributing to, but the other one is kind of just like a one input kind of a thing.
Yeah, so it's interactive versus it's just being pushed information, right? So you don't get a 65% off the spot and say, hey, I have a 70. You can't do that, right? But one thing that's very different about it also is actually one was always designed to make money. Groupon never ever shied away from making money. Whereas with Facebook, I mean, if you've even seen the movie, his whole question the whole time was, what's my revenue stream? And so now he's finally figured out that it's probably going to be advertising. What else is he doing in order to make money to actually justify it, his stock price? Or does he care? Did he do his exit strategy and get his money out? Probably. What's another idea of what he's doing? Yeah, it's actually business intelligence. So business intelligence, do you talk about that?
We haven't talked about it much.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it's basically the big trend these days is that there's so much information out there. And basically the more information that you have about someone, the more you understand your customer. So you can do things to actually get them to buy more. So probably the best organization for business intelligence is what industry? Can you guess?
Social media.
Pardon me?
Social media.
Social media, they put in a lot of tracking mechanisms. So we have Google Analytics and many other things like HubSpot, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So that's one way. Actually, historically, it's the grocery store. So what happens at the grocery store? Why do you think that maybe what I'm saying could potentially be right?
Buying specific foods.
Right. So when you buy one food, what's right beside that food?
Something that probably goes with it or
Right.
refers to it.
How annoying, I don't know how many people here actually do the grocery shopping themselves, but how annoying would it be to get ketchup in one aisle and go 3 aisles over for mustard? Wouldn't that be dumb? That wouldn't make any sense. So what they've been doing for years is actually figuring out what's related. And so when things are related, all of a sudden you go, okay, I'm here for my rice. Oh, look at here, here's my stir fry sauce right beside it, or soy sauce. And that's not actually in a different aisle, right? So a lot of thought is actually put into where things should be. So marshmallows, where do you think they'd be? You'd think maybe they're a snack, but you know what they actually are? They're in baking. Now you're gonna go to Loblaws or wherever you go and be like, oh, crazy. And Loblaws is actually one of the ones who was the forefront of this. When I worked at McCain's, every other grocery store out there let me do whatever I wanted. I'd be like, I want more, basically, facings of fries. And Loblaws was like, no, not in our store. Everybody else let us do it. Loblaws already, over a decade ago, was very fixated on making sure that everything was exactly where it should be to optimize their sales volumes. So what we're looking at today in terms of social media is business intelligence allows us to basically make more money. And everything should always be tied around making more money. Facebook is using it, BI, to help their corporate customers to make more money. But everything in online world is a great intro actually to the rest of social media. Because if social media doesn't make your business money, you shouldn't be doing it. And so whenever I train any small business owners, it's all about your time is money. Because, I mean, I own my own company. So what do? I do the bookkeeping. I do sales calls all the time. I have to do sales presentations all the time. I take the interviews from the media, right? But, I mean, Brad was laughing at me. I outsource a lot of things too because you have to, because you don't have time to do everything. So who does my social media? Not me, right? So that's why today, when I'm talking about this, is actually what I've learned from my experts. Okay, so the good, the bad, and the ugly. What we're going to talk about is basically the top ones that are used for small business and for business. And you've heard a lot about social media strategy, I'm sure, and overall marketing strategy and integrated marketing plans. I'm not going to talk about all of that. I'm going to talk about tricks to make sure that your profiles are found first by people who are hiring. And I'm going to make sure that if you actually worked for someone and you had to optimize their YouTube videos, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Cool? So it's a little bit more on the technical side. Why do I know this? Because I have experts who do this for me, who tell me how to do it. Again, I don't know anything. So you have that recorded, right? Yeah, Brad.
Why is Facebook not on your list?
I personally hate Facebook. And actually, Facebook makes me zero money. So it really depends. So the way that Facebook really works is, honestly, Facebook doesn't make people money. And that's a big challenge. And if we do PPC, so pay per clicks, Facebook is the least amount of return on your investment. So I basically wouldn't even go in there. If I was doing PPC, pay per clicks, the social media I would choose is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually the most expensive pay per click out there. I'll stop. Why do you think that is? Why would a LinkedIn pay per click be higher than a Facebook? Yeah.
Because when you're going on LinkedIn, you're searching for specific businesses.
Right, more niche.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you're right, the more niche you are, the more you can actually charge because you've already got rid of all the people who aren't going to be buying from you. You're talking to a more qualified audience is what a salesperson would call it. Cool, you have all the answers. Awesome. So basically the pay-per-click is higher, but that means that if you're gonna do pay-per-click on LinkedIn, you basically have to have a higher cost product. So basically all the pay-per-clicks on LinkedIn, they're gonna be at least a $2,000 thing. In fact, if you're only selling something for $250, it doesn't make sense based on the odds of pay-per-clicks. Okay, see all these crazy things I have to learn? So, YouTube. YouTube is actually the second largest search engine in the world. What's number one? Google. And why is this funny? Awesome, right? So Google owns the largest and the second largest search engine in the world. And it's really cool because right now for video, obviously, that's something that's more and more important than anything else. What's an alternative to YouTube that really is coming up right now that you guys all know about? Vimeo is, yeah, well, I kind of look at those as the same. Vine, obviously, would be the alternative for it. Right, so basically the difference is that this one is often very, very long videos, and Vine obviously only 6 seconds. The interesting thing is that over time, because of how many people still watch TV? Does anyone still watch TV these days? Okay, so how frequently at the back, how frequently do advertisements come in? Every how many minutes?
Every 10, no, yeah.
10 minutes or less, yeah, 8 minutes, and sometimes even more frequently, and we hate those shows. Yes, so it's about every 10 minutes or less. And Brad, in teaching, how many minutes have we always been told as teachers that we're supposed to change what we're talking about?
Well, I was told 15.
Okay. Historically, it was always 20, right? So every 20 minutes, I'm supposed to change what I'm doing. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to do something different. See, even less time. But basically, because of the advertisements being every 10 minutes, attention span of the world's population has gone from 20 minutes down to 10. Isn't that crazy? So if we're looking at YouTube, are we actually training our attention spans to go even less? It's kind of scary. And if we look at Vine, imagine if we only have 6 seconds of attention. It's insane. Imagine how our relationships will be. But basically, if we're looking at e-learning, I actually have all of my videos are basically designed to be 10 minutes or less for all my e-learning. Anyone ever seen TED Talks? Yeah. So TED Talks basically is designed to be nuggets of learning. And if you think about it, and to be honest, I already know after my whole hour of chatting with you guys, you're going to take max 2 things away from this entire chat. So why do I even talk for an hour? Why don't I just talk for 10 minutes, tell you what I want you to remember, and walk out? Oh, you have an answer for this? I don't. I should leave. Yeah.
Well, is it kind of because everyone's going to retain something different? So
Right.
like maybe I'll retain a lot of it, what you're talking about with YouTube, while like Justin really remembers like the LinkedIn thing. So like it's kind of everyone retains something differently from each presentation, each video, each anything.
Thanks, Robin. You made me feel a lot better. Awesome. I don't even know if I have an answer for that. I actually think that more and more is going to be nuggets. I think the big challenge that people have been trying to figure out is actually for learning. I mean, let's say someone in this class is taking an accounting course. So whenever we're talking about finance, that's boring for you because you understand everything about numbers. So I think that the evolution of education is actually going to be these nuggets of content. And really, you only have to learn what's missing in your past education. So wouldn't that be awesome? It would basically shorten how long you're in school by I don't know how many years.
It's interesting you bring that up.
Yeah.
You guys are going to experience that in the winter in BSM 200, which, are you familiar with the flipped classroom?
No.
So it's a flipped classroom course.
Yeah.
So basically all the lectures are online.
Cool.
And they're available in 5 to 10 minute snippets.
So funny.
And then the classroom is used for synthesis.
Okay.
And BSM 200, which is the next course that's following this,
Mhm.
they're going to be taught that way.
Oh, cool.
It's brand new concept.
And actually, Small Business Solver was designed based on that concept. So everything that people have as small business owners in my stuff is you learn the basics and then you work with a coach to make it actually stick. And the reason being is interactive. You just watch a video, your retention is about 20%. If I actually give you worksheets or things to do yourself in practice, it jumps from 20% retention to 75%. That's why you have to do your math homework. And then after that, if you teach someone else, so if Robin and Justin, you talk about this class afterwards and you share what you actually learned, it jumps up to 90%. So that kind of makes sense. But if all you did was actually only go to the webinars, your retention rate's only 20%. So you have to go to the synthesis part to actually get something out of it. Okay, so basically, if you're going to do anything for YouTube, there's some really cool ways that you can make videos. I don't know if you've heard about any of these out there. Most of them are free, and I encourage you guys to actually use them and check them out maybe for any of your presentations, because you can actually do custom videos on the fly. One of the ones that I have here is Camtasia. That's one I use actually for my own e-learning. And then the other thing that I'm going to show you is Animoto. I really love Animoto. It's super cool. So this is what it looks like.
Carla, can I get these slides? Can I put these slides up on our Blackboard
Sure.
system? Okay, so you guys don't have to write down all the names.
But you can just do like one of these, and then you throw in your picture, and it floats in, and you can choose whatever music that you want, and then you add in the text. And basically, you can embed this on a web page or whatever you want, and there's tons of really cool ones out here. This one's another one. But let's say you wanted to do something, just a pretty simple, easy way to save it. And you can actually do about 30 seconds, which is longer than you need
Is
probably.
it free?
Yeah, for 30 seconds and less. So ways to do this. The other ones that were recommended, I haven't actually used, but Extra Normal, and then apparently ClickPress, you can actually create like an animated person, and it's kind of like a comic strip, but animated. So again, apparently it's free. I've never used that one, but these are the ones that were all recommended to me by Alan Paulette, and Alan is my search engine optimization guy. And he's the guy who basically optimizes everything. What's cool about this guy is if you Google SEO guru, he's #1 in Google. So he's not playing around. You know how everyone's like, oh, I'll optimize you. Well, he can optimize himself against all these other guys who can optimize. So some of the things that we're talking about, they are from him. So pretty cool that way. Okay. So basically, what he said to me is, this is how, if you wanted to rank any of your YouTubes above everybody else, this is how you do it. Why would you want to do that in business? Yeah, it's basically awareness of it. The big thing in anything for social media, for business, you never want to close someone on the spot. That means for social media doesn't give you a direct sale. What does social media do? Well, you always have to make sure that you still have an action with it. So at the end of every single one of your videos, if you were in business, you would want to have an action, or even at the beginning. What do I mean by an action? Any ideas what that would be for online business? Yeah, Robert.
Kind of like something for them to do afterwards, like
Right.
now go here, now do this, or
Right.
like kind of like an incentive to do something more than just watch the video.
So what's the #1 action that you've seen businesses do?
Link over this website.
Click on this website, so click over. The #1 effective thing that you want to do is actually turn people into your email distribution. I know you guys probably all think that email newsletters are really, really lame. They're actually the most effective way in business to actually generate sales. Social media does not generate sales. Email newsletters do. Isn't that weird? No, don't you delete your email newsletter as soon as you get them? And yet, it's the most effective way. The reason that it's the most effective way is that people only buy from people when someone follows up with you. Right? So you might be top of mind in social media, but you've never actually been, followed up with proactively. And that's why email, so there. Get an email newsletter, even though we think they're the worst things ever, they're really, really effective. And what I found with Small Business Solver is I started to do regular email distribution. My retention rates went from 30% to 85% overnight simply by having an email newsletter. Nothing to do with social media. Sorry, that's why I was like, I might not talk that much about social media. Yeah.
Retention of what?
My client base. So for Small Business Solver, I don't sell to entrepreneurs. I actually sell to municipalities, universities, libraries, franchises. So when you saw my e-learning, I actually customize it for all these guys, and then they pay me a lot more money than what a typical entrepreneur would be paying me. So that's how I do it. So when I actually land, let's say the city of Brampton is one of my clients. When I land them, an email newsletter is what makes them continue to sign up with me next year. Isn't that crazy? Because that's not peanuts, right? Like, that's the city of Brampton as my client, and they're renewing memberships, which are thousands of dollars with me because of an email newsletter, which costs me $15 a month. Right? So that's just giving you a good idea of how this works. Yeah?
How is it exactly that works? Because I do work in retail, and
Yeah.
I basically have to force people to sign up for emails, and I may never see them in the store ever again.
Okay.
And as a consumer, like, I cringe in the morning when I look at my phone and my email, and there's like 20 emails from stores and things.
Okay. So why do you follow someone in social media? So on Twitter, why would you follow someone on that? Patrick? Why do you?
It's because you're interested in them.
You're interested in them, and why would you be interested in them? What kind of content are they delivering to you?
It really depends on what they do, like,
Right.
what product.
But it's interesting. And I think that we always think that business communication and newsletters should be really, really lame. I said that word, I don't know, 3 times now. I am born in the 80s. So because of that, it's basically after the paradigm shift. Newsletters relevant. So what are my newsletters? My newsletters are basically advertising, talking about free small business webinars. My webinars, I basically get experts from across the country, and they can actually put them, chambers of commerce, they're part of my clients as well. And so what they do is they then embed those in their calendars, or they forward them onto their client base as a value add to their clients. Right, so now I just doubled how many events. A normal Chamber of Commerce has an event every 2 weeks, if it's a small one. So with mine, I have a webinar every week. I just increased how many events they have by 200%. I made them look like rock stars, right? So the whole key, and this is why business intelligence and the whole analytics is so important, is because knowledge is power. So when you understand your customer, these are things that you can start doing. So when I first started, I actually asked them, what could I do better? And the response was, we need more updated content, especially in social media. It changes all the time. Imagine if I had an e-learning that I had created, I developed in 2009. Imagine if I didn't have any updates on social media since 2009, right? Webinars were my solution for that, but they were also my solution for having free, great content, and build a relationship with people. So although a city might only buy 200 user IDs from me, they now have a service that helps the other 10,000. Kind of cool? So it's about being interesting and being relevant. Cool. Any other questions? I always run into these things. I can't believe I haven't done it yet. So for YouTube, basically for the rankings, how you do it, it's all about the keywords are still applicable. If you know in the title, obviously that's normal. The description, more words the better in your YouTube description. You do have a tag section, you can add that in. But I'm going to show you some things that you might not have known about if you're trying to optimize this. The biggest thing that you want to do, and I'll just pull up one that I posted the other day. The biggest thing that you want to do is actually go into the annotations.
Finding time for yourself.
Haha. That's me.
What if?
Oh no, it is. That's my
What is
We're
wasting
good.
time
Okay,
with
I'm going to
access?
stop this because that will be annoying. So what you actually want to do is you can actually make a title that goes ahead of this. I haven't even done this yet. That's funny. Okay, we'll do it right now. So in this one, if I go down, what have I done? Well, finding time for yourself, that's okay. It's kind of a boring one. But what I ended up doing is putting in the description here. And if you like this video, check out these ones. One simple way to actually optimize this is finding time for yourself. What you want to do is link back to your own YouTube video. For some really stupid reason, put in your own URL of your own YouTube video in the same description of that YouTube video. Optimizes it. It makes it easier to search for. Really dumb. I have no idea why that works. It's really, really stupid.
In itself?
Yes. Yes. I know. So weird. The other thing is that basically referencing all the other ones then loops them together. So if anybody's watching this one, look at this. These are my other ones. Awesome. Right? So if anyone sees this one, they're going to see my other YouTube videos at the same time. And so it starts cross-referencing them. So especially when I have one that has like, I don't know, I have one that has like 1,000 views. Remember, I'm niche market, right? So 1,000 views to me, I'm like, yes. If I have that one, then basically I want to make sure that it links back to all my other ones, because that one being ranked high is going to help all my other ones continue to grow. Cool? So the other thing that you can also do is you can, so I did all those things, and the other dumb thing is actually going into annotations. So if I get into here, sorry, now you know my personal password. Oh, you know what? I'm going to show you guys another one. Basically what you want to have is have a title on these. So let's find one that I think I actually have a title of this.
Cold calling basics. This is brought to you from the calling more.
Oh my gosh. Apparently I need to yell at my people
Oh,
for
how-
not optimizing everything. Basically what you do is you put it in annotation, which is a title to all of this. Let's find one that actually...
Today's webinar and video is all about writing for the web. Webinar for
Oh my gosh.
today's web
Okay, don't worry, I have guest speakers, they're not me.
PR consultant with you, real key on it. I'm gonna kind of move through the presentation and non-PR consultant
I
with
don't know
you.
why they're not showing up right now, I'm sorry. So anyway, it just shows the title over top of everything as how it gets optimized. Okay, YouTube, I find it good. It's not actually the way I make business or how I actually get business. My number one way of getting business is actually LinkedIn, which we'll get to in a little bit. But Twitter, the main reasons why people actually use Twitter in large companies is basically just to see what people are saying about them. Have you heard that before? And that's really the biggest thing. It's basically a PR piece for them. The nice thing about Twitter is, as of last year, Google changed all their rankings to actually be based on frequency and timeliness. So the most recent things actually show up first. And because of that, that made Twitter a lot more important within the industry. And for them, for Twitter, the other thing that you probably don't know is that if you wanted to do and get lots of people to know about you, the way that you do it is not only following them, because most people automatically follow you, but every time you put a hashtag, everyone who's following those hashtags will see what your message is, regardless of whether or not they're following you. You guys knew that, right? But did you guys know what the top hashtags are in order to get business? These are the top 15 business hashtags out there. So if you're writing anything, if you have a blog and you basically are posting that on Twitter and sending things out like that, if you wanted as many people as possible to see what you're doing related to business, these are the top 15. And if you use these hashtags, basically you're going to be able to grow who's following you exponentially. Because as long as what you're saying is of interest, people are actually going to be following you because of the hashtag. So if you want everyone to know about you, hashtag business is a really good one. So I actually hashtag business every single time I post any webinars or any information. Because why wouldn't I? Right? So it just gets me out there more and more. Any questions about Twitter? I don't use this one that much. My colleagues and my small business clients, what they end up doing is they actually go hashtag and whatever a name of a networking event is that they're going to. So if you guys are going to maybe a career fair or something like that, you could actually use the hashtags for the career fair name and find potential employers that you wanted to meet up with in advance. So that's how a lot of my small business owners actually get sales meetings at any sort of networking event. So they know for sure if they're going to spend the time going there, that they have a quality meeting set up in advance. Okay. So the next thing here is going to be LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is where I get all my business. And the reason being is that I'm actually ranked #1 as a small business coach and trainer in at least this area, if not all of Canada. So if you ever went into your LinkedIn and basically searched for small business coach, I'm going to be #1. Pretty much, as long as you're, well, we'll see. I think pretty much, do you guys even have LinkedIn accounts? Okay, great. So this is probably the best way to actually get a job. 70% of companies look at LinkedIn to see whether or not someone's qualified and to actually follow up with you. That's a ridiculous number, considering that when I was first getting my job, people just looked at my resumes. I don't think they cross-referenced me whatsoever. So life is really, really different for you guys. So, and the other thing is that as you get older, headhunters, the way that they find you is pretty much through LinkedIn. So pretty much all of my small business clients, they all get job offers through this, or they actually get clients through this. For me, I actually get a massive amount of interviews through this. So The Star found me through this, Globe and Mail found me through this, Winnipeg Free Press found me. Why am I interviewing with Winnipeg? But to me, the fact that they can find me because of LinkedIn is pretty awesome. It's pretty powerful for me. So how do you do it? Basically, you guys know if you're #1, people think that you're going to be better. So if I'm the #1 ranked small business coach in Canada, guess what? Everyone's going to pay me more. And so if you guys are looking for jobs and you're ranked higher on this, they assume automatically that you know what you're doing. How to do it. Basically, you have two big things. Keywords. LinkedIn is the most basic search engine on the market. All you have to do to be ranked, you could be ranked higher than me as a small business coach if you really, really wanted to. All you have to do is write the words small business coach more often than other people. That seems pretty stupid and basic, right? So all you have to do is put it more frequently. So what do you want to be known for? Let's say you're a graphic designer. Let's say you want to be a fashion designer. I don't know, whatever you want to be known for. Let's say you want to be an app developer. If you put the word app developer in yours more frequently than anyone else, you're actually ranked number 1. Yeah?
If you put it in your profile.
Yes. If you put it in your profile, that's right. And so there's a few different pieces of your profile that you can be putting it. And I'm just going to pull up mine so you can see that I've gone a little bit overkill, but it's really important to me that I'm number 1 because I get a lot of business out of it. So if I'm looking at my profile here, basically I actually put the word small business coach into this. So my name is not Carla Langhorst. I actually changed my name to Carla Small Business Coach. And why is that important is that basically the higher up in your LinkedIn profile that something is, the more it's going to help you get ranked. So this is worth like 5 small business coaches down here. Right? So because it's part of my name. Then again, I put small business trainer, small business coach in my job title. And I make sure that that's always the one that's going to be present because although I teach at Humber College and I have fun doing other things, I would always make sure this is number 1 because this is so important for me. And then going through my entire profile, basically every single job I've had or every single time I worked with a client, I'd be like, small business coach for this company, small business coach for this industry. And so I kept on saying it multiple times until I'm number 1. Okay, the second part of basically having a lot of people being able to find you is how many people you're connected to. So when you get those connections, and you know on Facebook, you're like, that person's not my friend. I'm not gonna say that they're my friend, they're not. That's fine. In LinkedIn, that's not okay. In LinkedIn, basically, if somebody's searching for me, which is the search part right up there, they can only see me if I'm within their network. And so that's 3 degrees of separation. So if they're searching for a small business coach and they're not 3 degrees from me, they can't see me. So if you were gonna get all your business as a small business owner, which don't worry, you guys aren't obviously, so this doesn't matter for you as much, but your goal is actually to have 4,000 to 6,000 people connected to you. Because when you're at that level, you're connected to the entire world and then you don't care anymore. The problem is that something you don't know is that for the life of your entire profile on LinkedIn, you only get 4,000 invitations. You can only invite 4,000 people for the lifetime of your LinkedIn account. Okay, so you guys are like, okay, that's not a big deal for me. But if you ever needed to do this for sales or for marketing, business development, or if you ever needed to get this profile, this up, you're going to be more impacted than I'm going to be because you're already starting to build your LinkedIn account. I didn't build this until I was like, I don't know, 27. Right? So for me, it's not as big of a deal. And also because I know this 4,000 limit, whenever I can, I encourage other people to invite me. Right? So because I told you guys, if you want to find me on LinkedIn, please add me and I will definitely accept. Super important to continue to build this because let's say you become a headhunter, let's say you become into HR, or whatever function, sales, marketing, everything, you can be using this in the long run. Okay, any questions about LinkedIn?
Mine's more of a comment, or I'll make a comment and then you can comment on it, okay? I used to be indiscriminate friender on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I would add anybody that would add me.
Yep.
And then one time I reached out to this person and I said, I really need to talk to this contact of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And the first answer I got was, yeah, but I don't really know you. You're not really my friend, you're just my friend on LinkedIn, so I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
And the second time, it was the opposite. It was, I don't actually really know that person very well.
Mhm.
I can't really help you. It's just a name on my LinkedIn, but I don't really, I can't vouch, I can't connect you.
Yeah.
So can you just comment on that?
So that's going to happen, and so there's nothing really to change on that side of things. I think that you just have to take it to your advantage. And my way of making it to my advantage is that because I'm ranked #1, the more people who search for this, I gain instant credibility because I'm #1. Right? So it doesn't matter who anyone knows, because when they search for a small business trainer, I'm #1. And even like RFPs, Small Business Solver, we got our biggest contract we ever have had so far on Friday. And I have to say some of it was because of my ranking. Because let's say someone's looking at the content on Small Business Solver and they want to know who's the founder and really what can Carla know, and then they look me up and I'm basically all over the place. All of a sudden, hey, maybe actually, and I get a lot of interviews because I'm ranked #1. So just use it for what it's good for. A lot of times I have the same thing happening to me, but I have no qualms in just sending someone a message or actually picking up the phone, because once you know someone's first and last name, you can pick up the phone and you can reach out to them. And I think that's another part about social media. It doesn't rest by itself. If you don't have traditional business strategies to support you, it's the whole integrated marketing strategy again. If you don't have the whole gambit, it doesn't work. If all I did was stay on Facebook all day, I'm not going to make money. But because I do this, and I do the PR, and I have a telemarketer who works for me, basically all these pieces together is what gets the business coming. Okay, any other questions about LinkedIn? So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is basically marketing automation. So we talked about social media and everything, but this is really the more important part. This is where it takes your business intelligence and it makes money. So far, we haven't made any money. We got a bunch of people maybe signing up for our social media, following us in emails, but if you don't have marketing automation, this is really where businesses use social media. Why is it good? It helps you stay connected, it continues to attract new prospects, and you know what's working, what isn't. And then it's more effective that way. Why should you do it? Well, we realized that customers will manage 85% of their relationships without talking to a human by 2020. That's crazy. And basically, this entire stat is reliant not necessarily on social media, but it's actually reliant on the automation. So Small Business Solver, I have met 5% of my customers. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And actually, I kind of like it because I started the company when I was 28, and most of my clients are 50 to 60-year-old individuals who work at governments and have been there for 2 decades. So imagine if they saw me, how many would buy from me? So I actually look at this as really great. And it also means, as yourself, working this way, your age actually will never negatively impact you. If you decide to start your own thing and leveraging some of the tactics that we're talking about today, you can actually do anything at any age. I wish I'd started my own company in university, because you guys you're so busy all the time, but at the same time you have these huge chunks of time. And anyone, if you guys called me up and said, hey Carla, can I have a coffee with you? Well, now don't do it too much, but I would say of course, right? Because you have a lot of energy and it's something that you guys, of course I'd want to help you with your dreams, but everybody feels that way about students. And that's why you may as well use that to your advantage. I started this after I graduated. If I'd started it 6 months earlier, things would have been a lot easier for me. I'm watching time. So 10 commandments of automation. Stay customer focused, we talked about that, so that's perfect. Should be pressure free. Right, and these are all kind of the same things that we talked about for social media. These are just best practices across. Make sure it supports your internal sales, so just understand operations and who needs what information to make things tick. It should be part of the integrated inbound marketing strategy, which we kind of talked about. should drive repeat purchases. So if someone buys this, when are they ready for the next thing? How can we upsell them? And that's all business intelligence again. Content driven, so making sure that it's interesting, compelling, multi-channel, should reflect interest, not just action. So these are all kind of the same things. Again, these are someone else's slides. Marketing automation should be accessible, and then it has to be across the platforms. Top 10, pretty simple. If you're looking at doing this yourself, it's all about the email, like I said, and there's MailChimp, Hootsuite, Constant Contact, lots of different companies out there. Or you can actually pay for it, and probably the leaders are Mercado. I don't really know that many people who use that one as much. It's more of American companies who use that one quite a bit. And then HubSpot really is kind of the more sexy, cool one to be using. And if you're in the tech industry, pretty much everyone uses HubSpot. And what do? Well, they take social media and they take search engine optimization and they basically make it make money. And these are the functions that really, if you're looking at an automated marketing strategy, this is what an integrated platform would look like. So it's not just the social media and blogging. You worry about search engine optimization, some sort of lead gen, which turns into your email campaigns and automation. And then when someone buys, how do you follow up with that to get more? And then see what's working and tweak it. So this is really, if you're looking at social media strategy as a whole, although we talked about individual tactics for YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn, this is really how you make money from social media in the long run. And that's all I have for you. Any
We
questions?
have 10 minutes for questions.
Okay, yeah.
How much would it cost for us to know everything you know using your website?
Free.
It's free.
Yeah, so what I'm showing here right now is smallbusinesssolver.com, category technology. It's basically under my small business tools. If you just went to that URL, and I'll actually show you exactly where it is so you don't have to remember that. You go to Small Business Solver, under training, Small Business Advice blog. We basically save all of our webinars here. We have about 45, all free. If I went to the categories, I could click on technology and online, and everything that we just talked about, including the marketing automation, is all here. So public relations is here, rating for the web, e-commerce 101, Twitter's best kept secrets, all that kind of stuff is all here. Cool?
Well, there's some stuff though that you have to be a member to access
Yeah.
the content.
Some
So can you
seconds.
make sure they understand what's free and what's not.
Okay, so where you want to go is basically the small business training, small business advice blog. That's all free. If you want to start a business, let me know, and I would actually redirect you to many other resources, including small business centers that already use my platform. And there's lots of free things out there as well that I can help you out with. Yeah.
I have a small business, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you using CYBF right now?
I don't know, I just started 2 years ago with the weekend services. So.
Okay. Perfect. So,
Yeah, what would be that?
so CYBF is probably your best thing if you want to start, especially because if you're under 30, they're great. Forgot my YBF. It's basically the Canadian Youth Business Fund. It supports entrepreneurs under the age of 30. They actually have a free mentor that comes with that. They'll loan up to $15,000 for you. And Small Business Solver basically is a coaching tool. So if you wanted to figure out how to do a marketing plan and things like that, that's what Small Business Solver would actually help you walk through. Any other questions? You guys are easy. Oh, perfect. Check.
You said that you only have met 5% of your clients in real life. So does that mean like you don't do like personal like consultations or anything, or is it all solely done online?
The majority of what we do is online. We're getting into a lot more custom e-learning, which is why our packages are getting bigger and more expensive, which is great, but it takes a lot more time. So we have a standard product which has fairly good market penetration, but just like in any product, what you want to do is once you have one niche, you want to keep on expanding from that. What we call it in business is adjacencies. So whenever you start a business, you always have whatever your core is, and then you figure out things that make sense to that, right? So if we have our e-learning here and we've developed something, the next thing that you want to do is you want to white label it. So because people pay a lot more for white labeling. And then what we figured out is that if we're helping small businesses with e-learning, what else should we be doing? Well, we started getting deals for small business owners. So we actually have, if you become a member, you get 20% off Staples, and you get these other things that come with it. Because when you think about what your core is, our core is to help small business owners, and then you see that it's not just the one thing that you're doing, there's more things. If we look at Tim Hortons, they started with coffee and donuts, right? That would be their core. And for business, if they had just instantly sold pizza, that would have been dumb, right? Because pizza's over here. But in adjacency to what they did was starting in sandwiches. And then from sandwiches, they got into breakfast sandwiches. And then even if they had been from donuts to breakfast sandwiches, that would have been a leap. But they had all these pieces that eventually got them there. Kind of cool. So adjacencies are really, really strong. It's a great tactic to figure out what to do and what not to do. Anything else? Okay, is it break time for them again? Awesome.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you.